you told me before that you have a story related to milk.
I have a milk
It made
story.
me super curious. I just get right into it.
We're just gonna dive into it, right?
Yeah.
All right. So this was happening one morning, and I was on my way to work. It was a Saturday morning, and before we progress into the story, let me just give some understanding about what Saturday morning means.
Okay.
So most people in Japan have the weekend off. So Friday night is a typical drinking night here in Japan, especially for salarymen. And it's not unique to Tokyo, but I would say more so in Tokyo. People tend to stay out all night and stay till like last train or something, or stay till like 4 a.m. And so at the time, I was living in Kamata, which is like South Tokyo.
Okay. But you don't live in Kamata anymore?
I don't live in Kamata anymore. No, I live in near Omori now.
Okay.
I mean, it's basically the same place.
Yeah.
But
It's anything on that, like, what is it called? The
Keihin
Tohoku line?
Yeah.
To me, that's like...
it's all the same.
It's all the same.
Yeah. But yeah, so Kamata felt like I always gave it this nickname, Salaryman Town.
Yeah.
Because you go there and it's like all bars, nightclubs, and like cheap like ramen restaurants, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so typically you got like a lot of drunk people.
Yeah.
Mostly drunk salarymen there. And don't go there in the morning because it smells like pee. I'm just gonna say
Kamata in general.
Yeah. Like basically the whole place smells like
sorry, I don't want to. I mean, I don't want to interrupt you, but I do, which is why I'm interrupting you. But so one thing that really surprised me when I came here, was that like midnight salaryman ramen is a thing. Oh, like all the business
it's a good
guys.
Thing too.
Yeah. They go out drinking with their buddies. Yeah. They get super drunk, and then before they go home, they just stop by a ramen place in the middle of the night and just.
I did the exact same thing a couple weeks ago, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, I was coming home from a night of drinking. I got last train. We were coming from Shibuya, and I was just like, man, ramen sounds so good. And like ramen is like one of the best drunk foods.
Yeah, it is.
I would say ramen and gyoza, like those two things. It's the fat.
Yeah, I would say tonkotsu ramen is the perfect drunk food.
It's so good.
Yeah.
I don't even think that this ramen place next to my station is particularly special, but I feel like they have better ramen than other places.
You have like the really good ramen places, and then you have the late night ramen places.
Yeah.
So,
but anyways, going back to my story. So drunk people in Kamata, right? So going back to my story, I'm on my way to work, and I leave for work at around 7 in the morning, right? So it's fairly early. Around that time is usually when all the drunk people are like kind of climbing out of the karaoke boxes and like stumbling their way home. And so I get on at Kamata because that was my station. I'm riding the train and I notice that there's a guy who's kind of just like I'm leaning away from the mic, but he's leaning up against like the train door, right? And so I'm looking at him and he's holding this, like the gyunu milk
cartons of milk.
Yeah. So he's holding like a thing and he's got like a straw and everything. And
is it how big is it? Is it one of the big ones or a smaller one?
It's like it was one of the larger ones.
Okay.
Yeah. It was a milk carton.
Like from a supermarket, like 1 liter.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. So he's holding the milk carton and he's got the hole open and everything, right? And so he's leaning up and this guy's like, you can tell he's just hammered.
Yeah.
Right? This guy is like barely conscious. And he's leaning up and he's just kind of like stumbling and the train stops and the door starts to open. And like I said, he's leaning up against the door and it startles him and he squeezes the milk carton and it just explodes on his face.
Really?
Oh my God. So this guy is just like, literally his upper body is just covered in milk now.
Is he wearing a suit or something? Oh, jeez. Oh,
just covered in milk. And like, no one else saw it for some reason. This is a crowded train and no one was paying attention.
Yeah, they saw it, but they were not looking.
I could not contain myself. I was like crying and choking looking at this guy laughing so hard. I've never seen someone just explode milk all over themselves right in the middle of the train.
But it's fun. Like, first of all, it's funny that you say that, but I can totally imagine that. Like, it's to me, because I've seen like a lot of weird stuff on the train.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised that something like that happened.
Yeah, right? Like, it's pretty logical. It's like, he just got startled and his instant reaction was just like squeeze. But boom. Yeah. It just exploded all over his face.
But that's something like when you talked about how no one saw it or no one was looking.
Yeah.
You know, it's really funny. When my sister came and visited me back in 2014, at the time she was living in New York.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, yeah, Arthur, I like New York more. And one of the reasons I like New York more is because I can be crying on the street and no one cares.
Yeah.
I was like, that's the same thing in Japan too. But she's like, no, but I can see that they're looking at me, judging me. And I'm thinking, really? No one's looking. But you know what it was? But what you're talking about on the train is people were not looking, but they were looking.
Yeah.
It's just they were containing themselves.
Yeah. It's like people have like this awareness of what's going on, but like they don't look.
Dude. Okay. I wasn't planning on telling this story, but have you ever had like the only way I can describe it is like the school of fish mentality when weaving through the crowds in like Shinjuku Station or
yeah. Now that you mention it, I know exactly what you're talking about. Where like people will be looking at their phones and like completely oblivious to what's going on, but they like moving in like synchronicity. Yeah.
I mean, it's funny. It's like I knew I'd lived here long enough when I started moving almost involuntarily to avoid someone that I didn't even know was there.
Yeah. I get that feeling when so I go to a station called Gotanda a lot, which is kind of it's not a huge station, but it's kind of like a transit station.
Yeah.
It's a station that people usually change from the subway to the normal JR train. And so it's usually pretty crowded, right? Because a lot of people are going to Shibuya, which is like the big party place in Tokyo.
Yeah.
And so, it's really crowded, especially going through the ticket machine. And subconsciously, I will go to the available ticket machine without even looking. And I won't even realize it until I'm out of the ticket machine. I'm like, wait,
how did I do that?
Yeah.
Like, I just came back from 2 months in the States and I lost that. Like I'm like almost bumping into people. Yeah. I have to get some time before I can actually get that sense back. But no, it's funny because my dad said the same thing. He's like, Arthur, this is amazing. It's like a school of fish, and I'm the only one outside.
It definitely feels that way. Yeah. It absolutely feels that way.
Another place where I've really had that sensation is at Shibuya Scramble, the crosswalk. Have you ever been at the very front when the light goes green and then it's almost like you're going to war with the other side?
It's scary.
Yeah.
There's no pathway at all. It's a wall of people coming at you.
Yeah, and you're walking towards them and everyone else on the side is walking, but for some reason
it works.
People don't hit each other. Yeah, it's amazing.
It's weird. Man, we're getting a little sidetracked from our thing, but I want to talk about the scramble a little bit more.
Okay.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Have you seen any ridiculous things during the scramble?
You mean in the crosswalk itself?
Yes.
I've seen people like take pictures and stuff in the middle of the scramble.
Okay. So I've seen some pretty crazy stuff. So usually they're foreigners.
Yeah.
Because I feel like a lot of Japanese people, they just don't care. They just want to cross the street. But like the scramble's pretty famous around the world, so a lot of people just want to go and do goofy stuff there. And I remember one time it was these group of college age guys. They're pretty young. Obviously, I'm gonna guess American.
Yeah,
I didn't hear their voices, but just looking at them, they looked American. And they brought a canoe.
They brought a canoe.
There were 2 of them in the canoe. And there were 4 of them carrying the canoe.
Okay.
And so, like, as the scramble came, like they're holding the canoe above the people, and the guys are like going through here as the people are walking by.
When was this?
It was a couple years ago during Halloween.
Wow. Okay.
When it was really packed in Shibuya, and I saw it and I thought that was the most hilarious thing. It looked ridiculous, but it was kind of funny though, because there were so many people that it actually like looked they were going through like some kind of body of water or something. Yeah. It was whoever those young men were. That was ingenious.
Hey, dude, so I've had some experiences with like strange experiences at the train station, which were at Shibuya Station actually.
Yeah.
I remember. So this is right when I was starting my business back in 2014.
Yeah.
And I had to do some work or I had to make a call or something. And so on the JR platform, they have seats there. You know?
Yeah.
One thing that I've always thought was interesting is there are hardly like any seats at the train platforms, you know? But anyway, so I was in one of the few places where you could sit.
Yeah.
And I'm just working and I'm looking something up. And then all of a sudden, this guy in his what seems to be late 20s kind of like sits down, leans over to me, say, "Hey, where are you from?" And I'm not sure if he's drunk or high.
Yeah.
But I started talking with him and he's like, "Oh, that's cool. I used to live in Australia. Cool, man. We should hang out sometime." I'm like, "Yeah, sure. Why not?" So like we exchanged line, which is like the messaging app in Japan. And then later on, he's like, "Yeah, dude, you should come down to my bar. It's in Shinjuku Nichome." I was like, "Oh, maybe not." Yeah, I just got picked up by a Japanese dude at Shibuya Station. It was it was interesting.
Wow.
I don't know where he is now, but
that was a really roundabout.
I know.
just cold calling people on the train.
No, I wasn't sitting on the train. I was sitting at the platform.
Oh, okay.
And everyone was going by in the train and left, and he just sits down. I think like he really looked like he was either drunk or high, and he was like, "Hi, where are you from?" And I was just like, "Okay, cool. Let's have a discussion here.
Let's see where this goes."
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I ended up never hanging out with that dude, but yeah.
Yeah, you get some real characters there.
Yeah.
I remember there was one guy. It's always the last train that you see these people. Yeah. But there was one guy who for the life of me, I have no idea why he did this, but he was very obviously intoxicated.
Yeah.
I was coming back from Ropungi, and it was in the subway stations. And so in some of those stations, like late at night, they can get pretty empty.
Yeah.
And like I didn't even see any staff around. So this guy is just like sitting there. He's, like I said, he's very obviously intoxicated. Just randomly takes off his pants.
In Roppongi Station?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just takes off his pants.
Was he wearing underwear?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, he wasn't like going nude or anything.
No, he wasn't going nude. And like, I was so confused by it because he took off his pants and then just act like nothing happened.
Really?
And was just like standing there in his underwear. And I'm just like, I'm looking at him now because I'm just really confused at this. I'm just like, oh, you gonna do anything else?
So he just like was standing and then he just took off his pants
was
and kept on standing?
Took off his shoes, took off his pants, put his shoes back on, and just waited for the train. And I'm just like, dude, you can't do that.
Yeah.
There's a rule. Like, if you're gonna do something insane, you gotta follow that up.
Yeah.
Like, now I'm invested in this.
Yeah.
Now I want to see what's gonna happen, and nothing happened.
Really?
And I feel like I was ripped off.
Yeah. Right? I would feel that way too.
Like, I was so frustrated.
Like, what's the next thing?
Like, I got on the train. I'm just like, dude, what the hell?
Yeah. So he just got on the train and that was it?
Yeah. He got on the train, and then like people looked at him and like kind of shied away from it because you don't want to sit next to a guy not wearing pants. That's weird.
Right.
But then he got off the next station and never saw him again. And I feel like to this day, I feel like that man owes me an explanation.
Yeah. So why did you do that?
It's so frustrating.
Man.